Hey, my friends. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to It's in the Bag. That's right, my friends. So, I'm a firm believer in thrift shopping, my friends. Trying to save wherever you can. So, usually with me is I always get a feeling, my friends. Sometimes I'll just get a feeling I'm gonna find something cool. And then, more often than not, I usually do. Let's put this bag to the side just for one moment. So, my friends, welcome to It's in the Bag, where I talk about a thrift store find, something interesting, something I know about, and I'll tell you a little bit about it, okay? This is our first installment, and the reason why I have these pile of books in front of me is I got a little story to tell. So, I live really close to my job, my friends. I'm very fortunate where it's a 7-minute drive. So I'm lucky enough I get to go home for lunch and relax and spend some time in my home, okay? So I'm headed back to lunch. I'm headed back to work from lunch. I'm driving. Okay, the speed limit's like 25 on the street. And I'm driving by and I see the remnants of a yard sale. Yeah, really quick out the corner of my eye, right? I could see some cardboard, some boxes, and then I saw this pile of books, and it was kind of like this, just kind of like that. This fell off the top. And I drove by really quick, and I said, hey, wait a minute, was that like Dungeon and Dragon books? And so I turned around, because it's a little street. So I turned around really quick because there's like a little bridge, there's like a little walking path. There's a bridge you drive around. So I made a quick turn, and I stopped and I parked, and I walked over, and lo and behold, I was correct. My inner nerd was strong. That's what my brother was saying. And so, my friends, I found these books. Okay, so this was on the top, okay? So this is basically the monster manual. So this is Dungeons and Dragons, my friend. So this game's been around, oh God, since the 70s, okay? Now, personally, myself, I started playing Dungeons and Dragons in 1981 when I was a senior in high school, and I was playing with some of the kids in the math class. That's what I learned about. I learned it because back then, in the 80s and 70s, you had to be a super nerd. This wasn't like something you can just like go into any store and get. You had to go to specialty stores. You had to, there wasn't the internet to communicate with, your fellow gamers. You had to like seek them out, So, but the point is I found one. So here it is. So here's the Dungeon Master's Guide, okay? Now, my friends, this is brand new. This is pretty new. This is the current book, and this, my friends, is $49.95, okay? And then this is the Player's Handbook, okay? Same thing, my friends. This is $49. Okay, pretty much these are $50 for these two books. That's $100, okay? And then these are the main two books you need. Players, the Game Master, okay? And then this is the Monster Manual. This has all kinds of cool, like just monsters to fight, and everything's with dice and stats, right? And okay, and then $50, okay? So that's 3 books, okay? That's $150. And then here we go. Here's another monster manual. So even more monsters. That's not included in the book we just looked at. $50. My friends, every book, when you play D&D, you play with paper and pencils. You don't need a lot of props. You need your imagination, and you need the books. This is how they make the money, my friends, is the books. Now, normally, not everybody has to have a book. So basically, if you're going to be playing, you need the player's book, and that's pretty much it. That's the only book you need, and then your sheets, if you're a player. Now, if you're the Dungeon Master or the Game Master, that's a different story. Then you need all these books, So, long story short, my friend, I found 5 books, okay? 5 books in immaculate, brand new condition. Thank God I found them when I did, because it rained a couple of days later. I pass that house to go on the way to work, and the boxes and trash is still there, right? But yeah, my friends, this is gorgeous. So evidently, somebody just lost interest, okay? So right there, my friends, this is a $250 value that I just found laying in the street. This was also in with the books too, and this is like a beginning adventure guide thing. Now, this doesn't have a price tag on it, so that means it came out of another set, okay? But I found all these, and then I also found this, and this is the person's character sheet, okay? So this is their character that they created to play the game with, okay? And I have no idea who this person is. You know, I'll never meet them. Maybe they moved away, you know? And so there's a lot of blank paper in here, blank character sheets. So basically, it's kind of weird. So now, this is how Savers comes in, okay? So, I'm all jazzed because I found these, you know, D&D books, right? I sent my best friend a text with pictures saying, look what I found. And then I'm getting off work. And I got the feeling. Because, you know, I stopped going to Savers because, you know, I had too much stuff, my friends. And it's bad for me, okay? But when I get the feeling, I go. So I got off work, and a little voice was saying, you know, Ernie, you should go to Savers. You should go to Savers. And, you know, and I almost didn't. I said, you know what, I'm going to go to Savers. I'm going to listen to my intuition, okay? So, usually, when I would go to Savers, I would either hit the movie section, or I would hit the electronics section, or I would hit the games, like the toys games section, okay? I don't really buy a lot of clothes for the thrift stores, you know, not because I don't, because I don't wear out my clothes. You know, I mostly wear work clothes at work, so my shirts stay pretty nice because I wear a work provided shirt, you know. So that saves me a lot of my wear and tear, okay? So, but I did, you know, but I have bought stuff, and I bought some jackets before, but I mostly shop in those three areas. I got toys, games, the electronics, the collectibles, and the movies, okay? So, I hit those sections, and I hit the games last, you know. And so I go over to the games section, and lo and behold, it's going to blow your mind, friends. It's going to blow your mind what I found on sale. Because these were on the shelf on the same day that I found all those D&D books. Okay, so now these, okay, so this box here retails for $24.99, okay, and then this box right here retails for $19.99, okay. Now, since it's Savers, I got them for $3.50 each, okay, $7, my friend, $7, okay. Now, the starter set, now I did open them to make sure the stuff was in there. Now, the starter set is kind of incomplete, okay? So basically, there's some empty dice pouches, okay? I guess there is, this was like a little thing to make like your little characters with, so they provided paper cutouts. Okay, so this box set is from 2014. I looked already, okay? Now, even though I paid $3.50 for this, and this is incomplete, it did have a complete set of these really cool looking orange D&D dice. So right there, my friends, that makes it worth $3.50 right there off the bat, because you would pay more than that. So a nice set of dice in a bag, that's $10, okay? That's usually $10 at a gaming store, okay? And these are nice, and they look pretty new. So now, what this does have is basically has a lot of the blank character sheets. Now there is one sheet that got used up, so I guess this is when they were starting to play, okay? And what I got to do is okay, so I was wondering, was this donated by the people that left the books there? But I don't think so. I think this is just a chance. And then, of course, you got your starter rule book, and then you have a starter adventure, okay? So this basically, my friends, is a single adventure that you could start. So you have everything you need in this box for an adventure. Okay, so not bad. Okay, now that's not bad for $3.50. Okay, where's that rubber band? Now here's the other set. This is the essential kit, and this, my friend, this one is complete. Everything is here unpunched. Okay. Now what this again is a complete adventure. Everything you need. So if you bought this box, you wouldn't need any of those books that I have over here to the side. So this is basically like your introduction. This is like, say, so for example, say you want interested in D&D, but you don't want to invest $300 in books, then you would just drop $25, get together with some friends. You can knock this adventure out in probably a couple of weekends, And then if you like it, then you move on. And that's the same with this too. So that's what both these are. They're like little starter sets. This is also from 2014. Okay. Now this is pretty cool because everything is still like all nice. This set's never been used. It looks like they started using this set, never got to this one, and they probably lost interest. Now the hardest thing about D&D is not that it's a hard game to play. All you're doing is you're using your imagination, you're pretending, and you're saying what you're doing, and then you're using the dice to determine if you did what you said, Because if you can just go there and kill a dragon with a single hit, it's no fun, You can't be too powerful. You have to, and that's what these books all have. They all have stats. They all have numbers. So each monster has power levels, And so, and that's how you kind of regulate things, And so it's pretty cool. And you can pretend, and depending on how you want to play, you can be more of a story player, like a fluff bunny. That's what they used to call it in my day. I don't know if they use that term anymore. But that you'd be more about the story, right? And you tell the story, and the combat was just kind of like spices and in the meal. Or you could be like more of a hardcore like power gamer, where it's all combat. It's all about encounters and how fast you can level up and searching for treasure. So basically, it's almost like a video game, except it's happening in your mind, on the tabletop. Now, you can get all hardcore and get, there's just so many accessories. You could buy tabletop maps, you can get little miniature figures. So you can get all crazy about it. Now, I'm one of those guys who got all crazy about it. I got stuff in my storage. I'll show you later on, down the road. Okay, so, but the point is, my friends, is you can find some amazing things in the thrift store if it's meant for you. I have a firm belief that there's no accidents in life, and that you are meant to hook up with an object, or if you let something go, it's that other person's meant to hook up with an object. Like say you're you're donating a bunch of how-to books. Maybe that person who needed that knowledge will walk in the thrift store at the right time after you donated it. I'm a firm believer in donating and passing stuff on. But my friends, this is pretty awesome because this is all like little game cards. Here's the map I was talking about. See, they have little maps with little grids. Now this is more about this. You couldn't put your little miniatures on, but this is more showing you where you're at and stuff in the world. D&D is a pretty fun game. It's really nice because it makes you use your brain, and it's all about storytelling. And now, all like I was saying, the hardest part about Dungeons and Dragons is not the game itself, but trying to get a dedicated group that meets up all the time. Okay, because you need a minimum of like 3 people. Okay. One person's the game master. You control all the monsters and the villains and the NPCs, like if you're playing a video game. You're the NPCs, okay? And then the players are the main characters. You could do a one-on-one game, but you have to write it for that. But you want to have, the more players you have, the more interesting the outcome is. But also, too, you got to remember, the more players you have, the longer your games will take. So yeah, so this is all like, here's like character cards. So this is all for that one adventure, This is going to take 2 to 6 people to play. So, yeah. So, my whole point of this is follow your intuition. I was telling my best friend Jesse that I think the universe is telling me that it's time to play Dungeons and Dragons. I stopped playing Dungeons and Dragons during COVID time. We used to play all the time, But then once COVID came, nobody hung out, and then we just never got back into it. You know, so it's been a couple of years. So my friends, I like to go to Sabres because they support the local boys and girls club here in New Mexico. Okay, now your Sabres in your state might support a different organization, different charity. It varies from state to state. Okay, now this is going to be the first of the series. Okay? Now the other ones, my upcoming videos will not be this long because I had to tell the story about the D&D. Now what you will be seeing is you'll be seeing me showing you the contents of a bag and talking about it. Because more often than not, I'm going to buy something that I'm interested in, that I collect, that I have some knowledge about, okay? So, yeah, it's in the bag. Hey, my friends. Hey, thanks for liking and watching. If you can, please subscribe. I'm also offering memberships. No pressure, but it should be awesome. But hey, I'm glad you guys are watching. I'm glad you're here. And support your thrift stores. Donate. You know, now, the big thing about thrift stores, my friend, is please donate nice stuff. I mean, it doesn't have to be like immaculate, but don't donate stuff that you wouldn't wear, okay? Don't make these guys your garbage bin because they spend a lot of time having to sort out stuff that's just trash, okay? So say, for example, if you're having a yard sale, you know, don't give them all the junk too. Give them the cream of the crop so they can pass it on and make some money and give people jobs. See, that's the great thing about thrift stores is not only are you supporting a charity, more often than not, you're helping people that live in your community with a job, my friends. And in these days, a job is important, okay? This is how we all pitch in together, okay? You know, you donate, you reuse, you know. If it doesn't bring you any joy, then you pass it on, my friends. Now, for example, in this person, you know, they probably, this wasn't for them. Or they would have punched it out. And so they let it go. I spent $7 and I'm ecstatic because, you know, this is what I need in my life right now. Well, at least that's what the universe is telling me because I found $250 worth of books. So, oh, also too, this book right here, I forgot to tell you, that's this book right in here, watch. Oh, I almost forgot to point that out. So, as you can see, my friends, I am destined to play Dungeons and Dragons. I just got to find some friends. But yeah, how crazy is that, huh? How crazy was that? This was supposed to be a 10-minute video, friends. Hey, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah, tomato, tomato. It's all the same. I'm just glad you're here watching. Thanks, friends. Thanks. Have an awesome day. And join me next time when we see what's in the bag.